Welcome to ChannelWaves, the podcast where channel leaders share success strategies, best practices, and emerging trends. Here's your host, Stephen Kellam.
Welcome, everyone, to ChannelWaves, Structured Web View into Everything channel. I'm your host, Stephen Kellam. I'm very happy to have Rebecca Jones joining us today. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Stephen. How's it going?
Well, so Rebecca is the Chief Growth Officer and COO at Bridge Partners, one of our strategic partners. So very excited to have her here because we keep talking about partner experience. And we're going to talk about how AI has affected partner experience in particular. It's kind of hard to do a podcast today and not have AI in it.
Completely. I don't know who's not talking about it or thinking about it, figuring out ways to transform that experience. So it's embedded now.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the interesting things and the places we're going to start is we were talking about self-serve.
Mm-hmm.
And those who have listened to my podcast know I used to be a partner, and self-serve was part of the long tail. And Rebecca and I were talking about it. I would say that self-serve was considered a negative.
Right.
Because you were kind of on your own, right? You weren't part of the 300 managed partners, even though the long tail is very important. Economically, it doesn't make sense. And Rebecca and I were talking about how maybe self-serve has become a good thing, because the question I'd asked Rebecca was, okay, if I'm one of the 300 managed partners and I've got someone helping me, which is great, but wouldn't you rather be able to do some things on your own? I'm not talking about replacing the HH, the human to human.
Right.
But the ability to do some things on your own, I think would actually be a pretty good thing, right?
Yeah. And I think back to where we started that conversation around self-serve, and your point is absolutely correct. It's kind of reserved for the long tail, right?
Yeah.
And now when you think about self-serve or, self-serve 2.0, it's from a go-to-market standpoint, it's transformational. And we are talking about really looking at inversing that pyramid on how can you think differently around self-serve for every partner type that you have, your most strategic partners, the high growth ones, and your long tail, about using that as a competitive differentiator. So yeah, I think it's a fascinating topic for us to get into.
Yeah, I could see a managed partner still wanting to have the human to human around the strategy, right? Still, how do I be successful? What makes me different? How do we work together? But it's the underlying pieces that I can get accomplished where I don't have to wait for that data, or I can come in and get some things done now.
Yeah, 100%. And so there are just some fascinating, I always like to look at the market and the statistics there about what is really driving that behavior or that desire for a different partner experience. And if you think about it from a B2B side, over 30% of those transactions for B2B today are digital, right? If you have e-commerce. And when you think about the comfort level with self-serve from a B2B buying perspective, over $500,000. This is the market. I find this absolutely fascinating. Over $500,000, there's a comfort level now of making transactions at that point for a B2B buyer. I think it's over 39 or 40%, somewhere in there, maybe 40. We'll go with 40, because 39 and 40 are real close, right?
It's a pretty high amount. Yeah.
It's a high amount. And when you think about partners and, the consumer wants this self-driven experience and the strategic opportunity and where AI can really play a role, partner experience, that can be ultimately transformed as well. And you can apply this consumer grade driven experience for partner. And that's a huge unlock for businesses to really think about differently.
You do, but I'm going to jump right into it, right? You're going to actually skip over a few of our questions.
Yeah.
Because it goes to data.
Yes.
So my question is to you, what makes someone comfortable with that, and what makes partners comfortable with that self-serve? What do you need to do to make that work? And then how is AI really changing all of that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question when you get down to the data, because that's fundamental. It's foundational into whatever you're hoping to achieve with the partners. But I would go back to really understanding where that partner plays in your customer journey. And then we were just talking about your most strategic partners, your high growth and your long tail, and what do you need to help them be successful? Especially if you're thinking about self-serve or self-serve 2.0. And we could just start with your most strategic partners. And if you're thinking about how do you enable them differently, utilizing AI and the self-serve model, your most strategic ISVs, how would that look like for your business, right? And how can you unlock that? How can you help them drive and connect those APIs in? And what do they need to drive that business? And so I would say that from a data perspective, that's going to be absolutely critical. In ensuring that you have the right alignment between the business metrics and what do you need from both sides to do that.
The world that I live in, I look at what AI has done and the data that you need to make a partner successful. I think we can start with the data about the partner, right? So the more you know about the partner, the more this gets into personalization, right?
Yes, it does.
And there's been machine learning for a while about, okay, if it's tagged correctly in your CRM, that maybe you knew a little bit about where the partner was, if you knew who the partner was, and maybe you knew what they had purchased historically, and maybe you knew a little bit about them. But what AI, I think, it's done is it allows the vendors to come in, everybody who's listening, and then how do you find out everything about this partner, right? I mean, now you're scraping their website, you're scraping the social, you're scraping everything out there to understand who, what, where, and the why of this partner. So it's, I come in and it goes, oh, Stephen, you live in Napa, you sell into wineries, you sell risk mitigation, business continuity, and you sell into COOs. Oh, wait, you're in the wine business. By the way, here's all the things that you need to know about what's going on in the wine industry. And then I think it's even to the point where AI can say, and all of your key buyers, here's all the information about them, and start to make it so not only is it personalized for that partner, but it's even helping them make business decisions. And it's helping, sorry, I'm just trying to come in. And it's helping then the vendor connect the partner with that buyer so that there's a higher chance of probability of success, right?
Absolutely. And when you think about where you just went through core personalization, you're getting down to segment, geo-specific, industry specific, who they should or could go to market with. How are these customers ingesting the solution? What partners are they bringing in? Depending on the size partner, they might not recognize all the players that are at the table that are helping deliver that customer solution. So it's exponential knowing how and strategically what to layer on and what to be tracking and helping your partner be more successful. So, personalization, absolutely critical. And I would say at all level, if you think about it, doesn't matter, a lot of that has been reserved, most notably for the most strategic partners. But with AI, you can really go and help enable all of your partners, high growth and long tail.
I can't remember the matrix, but somebody had a matrix that had the partners in each one. And there was some where wasn't the high performers, but rising stars. I'll just
yeah.
Everybody has
everyone's got a name.
Everyone's got a name. We call it the rising stars. To me, I think the really interesting thing is you can start to use AI to figure out then, who are they, right? And how do I get them from point A to B, and how do I make them successful? I think someone used the word democratizing the ability for partners to be successful.
Yeah. I think that, wherever you put those high growth rising stars, it is really unlocking. And I think one of the other topics we had talked about is how do you use AI? And let's just talk about those partners in that area or that tier of partnership. You really want to ensure that you're helping support them to get to that next level of growth and achievement and accountability to help sell on your behalf. And so with with AI, there's so much more you can be doing to track performance measurement, enablement, and support to meet them where they are. And so you were just talking about how do you figure that out and get them along that path. And I think there's just some really interesting things that are happening, lining them up with the 3 to 5 plays that because you have so much more knowledge and you can start to automate, how do you connect them where they are? You know what your priorities are as a business, and then how do you help get them on a path based on their capabilities, their strengths to really go sell for you? And I think about from a consumer side, Amazon's got me dialed in, but what's the next best offer? And with AI, you can really, if you know what they're bringing to market and the play that they've got out there, how do you help them with that, the next best offer for that partner in that scenario, in that industry, and where they sit for that customer segment? So it's incredibly powerful to see how companies are starting to layer this data on and use it to drive business measures and success.
But it's not a magic wand.
It
At
is
least
not.
from my perspective. And I think I heard you say enablement somewhere around 5 to
Yes.
6 times, right? So how does that play in it? What do we need to do there? Oh, second part to the question, 2-part question, enablement. And then maybe you can finish it off with our move from generative to agentic AI and where that's going to help as well too, right?
Yeah.
So I think they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, I think about enablement, and there was, if I'm recalling correctly, and you and I both know this, how many portals it's come to me, partner, come to my portal. And I believe it was Canalys that put the report out that behind help with AI and enablement there, it is portals are known to be or opaque for partners to navigate, and how do they really get to where they need to be. And so when I think about the opportunities for enablement, it's there's a whole new world out there when you start to apply solutions that are built on AI for partners. One, because the old method, the old way, you were really strapped on how many partners could you enable in what form or fashion. And it was, there was always a self-serve, right? Like go get this learning. But the solutions that are out there today to meet your partner where they are and ensure that they have the right level of readiness and it's tuned for their learning and the capabilities. And you were just talking about the capabilities that can be built into enablement today. It's a whole new world. And so I think you and I were having a conversation around, it's not really, can we do this? It's really ensuring it's lining up to the strategy. Like, should you do this? Don't worry about the tech anymore. We can get it done, but let's make sure that lines back up to your goals and objectives and what you're trying to accomplish in market.
No, I totally agree. And it's really turning into a just ask world.
Yes.
But here's the interesting thing. I live in a just ask world. I think you live in a just ask world where we're very used to AI, not just even from the generative side, but from the execution or agentic side, where you literally are going to ask AI to do something for you. But we still need to get partners at all levels, and particularly in the long tail, very comfortable with, okay, when I show up somewhere and someone says, I just need to ask, I can see a partner going, ask what?
What do I ask for?
What am I asking for? So how do we make that happen? How do we explain that? And how do we get them comfortable with, okay, this is what's going to be in front of me? Because I truly believe, as you said, portals are going to be very, very different experience. And I think they have to. We were working with one vendor who will remain nameless, that on their channel marketing portal, 753 pages and URLs that a partner could actually go through to create a campaign. 753. Like, is any partner ever going to do that?
Right. Never.
Never.
Right. I would never go to a site that gave me 750 pages, right?
Wait, you would go once.
Once.
Okay.
I would go once.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, you probably wouldn't go back very often, would you?
No. And who's got the time? Who's got the time to do that? And I think that that is part of that value exchange. Who has the time? The partner is coming to a portal or an experience for something. And I would say you asked about how do you get long tail partners comfortable? There's two sides, right? There's the skilling side and really understanding and how do they bring that into their business? They need to be customer zero, right? And they need to adopt a growth mindset on, that first level is basic productivity and efficiency. And how do they bring that in? And there's not a solution out there today that isn't including AI or some capability in there, but they really do need to be customer zero. And then when I think about the opportunity for the companies, enterprise companies that are building and have large partner ecosystems that they're looking to enable, how do they use the technology and AI, you know, and generative AI to build solutions that that partner is interfacing with and just gets more comfortable? Because you and I both know once you start to adopt it and use it, you learn, right? And I always think about that growth mindset. It's got to get uncomfortable, and there's a new method, new way. And once you start to learn, that pathway is going to be much more productive and get you to those results faster and better. Those partners will see that. And I know firsthand, you've seen it and I've seen it, the solutions where you start to interface and you can go by voice and other ways of like, get me to the pathway. And as this, it's such a rapid move right now. And what the capabilities are and will be in the future, these use cases just keep coming out that, I'm so excited around what we're going to be able to do to really enable partners. And I always say, meet them where they are, like that moment of relevance. We were talking about personalization, whether it's a marketing leader, a business leader, a more technical leader coming in, what are they looking for? And how do you start to really personalize that learning path for them? And what do they need right now to open up that new deal, accelerate that, or get that closer to close, right? And so regardless of partner size, your most strategic or your long tail or your high growth, the ones you're trying to nurture, these experiences can be done. You just have to strategically look at the map and know where do you need these partners across your customer journey, and then how do you build a partner experience to allow them to be better at what they're trying to do for you.
Okay. One final question, because
Yeah.
I want to talk about the vendors for a little bit and what they can get out of this. We can come back. Let's do a second podcast on
Yeah.
generative to agentic, because we could
Yeah.
be for a while. Here's what I find fascinating. Vendors have always wanted to know what partners think or what
Yes.
they need. And if you would ask senior directors, VP level at a big vendor, like, how can you build, partner engagement? They're gonna, ask them, talk to them.
Yeah.
It's impossible to talk to 5,000 partners.
Yes. Impossible.
So I think AI, from my perspective, the data that vendors can see when partners are engaging and asking questions, and in that just ask world, seems like a treasure trove to me for the vendor on seeing into what partners need and how they can help them. What do you think?
I couldn't agree more. If you think about voice of partner and the go have the classic interview, it's what's not said and what's being looked for. And yes, I agree with you that there are so many opportunities now, but it's knowing where to look for that data and knowing that it's there and how to start layering that on. And I think that for me, it's there, right? There's a lot of data being collected, and is it in the right frame and the right form for you to actually do something with, right?
Right.
But I agree with you that there's incredible amounts of opportunity to really change the game and get more strategic around what you're offering and when. And that's a great example. I'm curious, you've asked me questions. I'm curious from your perspective, if you were thinking about self-serve 2.0, what would be some of the core capabilities that you would say this is the vision of the future?
Three things, right? I think for the partner, once again, it needs to be at a just ask world at the top of the portal, not further down. So as soon as that partner is coming in, don't make them go through 5 clicks to get somewhere. In the beginning, figure out how to do that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
layer that just ask across as much as you can. Second thing, make it everything that you're investing in, this is then is purpose built. And partners will buy into it because they have, as you said, they're ROIing their time. They have an objective. They're not looking for fluff around the AI. It's like, how do you help me in this buyer's journey, right? How can you quickly get there, right? So make it just ask, make it easy, make it purpose built, which means add value to it, right? So that there's value and they want to come back. And I think the third thing is take that data that's coming in. And I think the data that's coming in from partners when they interact that the vendors can see inside of this just ask world is chock full of things that vendors can do to understand their partners. Don't ignore that data. You should have a dashboard and you can even use AI to analyze it. Like, what are the biggest challenges your partners are having in this vertical selling this product? And you can take it down to that. You literally could have an AI, take it and look at that and come back and say, hey, I need battle cards against this competitor. Heck, you could even, this will say the generative to the agentic overlap. You can even have it to ask the agent then to create a battle card against that competitor. So now what you're doing is building value. I'll go back to it. I said 3 things, but I think it's really 2 things. Make it easy for partners, value, and then take all that data. So I guess it is 3 things and come back and make it even easier, make it more. Right.
Yeah. And just think about all the use cases off that data and the mapping. And we could have a whole conversation around partner assessment and maturity models.
Yeah.
Enlightening where you think and where companies can start to see where what their partners are asking across a maturity index through all of this data. And to your point, it could be they're looking for X, let's go build it. And that could be moving to agentic. And it's also really helping provide more signals to the business. Where are their partners in this ecosystem? And what are they looking for? Even if they think that partner's that high growth or strategic partner, they might have some fundamental questions that are coming in. And that's where the human expertise comes in. We didn't talk much about that. Like self-serve, there's so much there, but there's also a need for human expertise. And where do you put that human expertise in your business if you can start to automate and start to build on some of these other pieces that now, because of AI, can be transformed? So maybe that's another podcast.
Okay, sorry, I can't help one thought on that note too. So you could literally, what if, and you could do this, right? You could clone your concierge people, your cams and pams, that a lot of the work that they're doing for that partners, you could create 20 agents. You could build whatever agent you want, right? This is on the agentic side, and once again, I think we'll do a separate podcast on that. Yeah. And you could clone a lot of what's happened, and basically, this is the democratizing it, right? You're taking a lot of what you've done for the strategic partners. Now you're doing it for the long tail. Now you still have the exchange, you still have the human to human for those top 300 because you're going to have strategic conversations, you're going to invest with them, but you can make that world so much better for that long tail.
Oh, both for the long tail and your strategic partners, right? If you think about what you could really drive and allow the CAMs and PAMs to focus on the most strategic deals, I'll call it the expert advice or the escalations that really make the moment in time and change that quarter or that fiscal year end top line versus having them move paper around or some of the old pieces. And then to your point on that long tail, you can start to replicate and take pieces that will really start to move the needle for those other partners as well. So, that's a great example and where we're seeing a lot of opportunity and solutions going in to really help the experts scale.
Exactly. Okay. One predictive question for you. So here's what I see, and here's what I've heard. You tell me if you think I'm right on this, is that they've shown clearly that really good cams and PAMs strategically working with a partner can increase 30%. They can see an uplift if they're really engaging strategically in that, right? So with AI coming in and AI being able to do a lot of the, call it grunt work, execution work, or those cams or pans. So what do? Do you take the cams and pans and have them be able to handle more partners? So now you can have 500 strategic partners with 30% growth with instead of 300. Or this is a scary thing. Do you say, yeah, and we need 60% of my cams and pans, and I'll cut my costs there and I'll get the same thing? Where do you think people are going to head?
Oh, or do you double down on your cams and PAMs and do that alignment more efficiently and productively? That is a tough one, right, for businesses to think about. And when I look out, I truly believe that human expertise plus the innovation and transformation is where the magic lies. So having a CAM or a PAM scale across more partners, do you really feel like, think about this, partnership's all about relationships, right? An ecosystem all about relationships. So does that really putting them in highest and best use? And how do you think about that business problem or that business opportunity? Really, we're creating a new business opportunity for companies. How do you think about how could you structure that differently? So I'm going to say I'm going to think about that one for you, Stephen.
So I'm going to quote Asher Matthew, who said, I'm paraphrasing, that great partnerships were about taking advantage of existing relationships.
Yes.
And do you agree?
Yes, great partnerships are all about relationships. If you think about at the end of the day, we've talked about self-serve and all these different ways to accelerate the buying process. But one thing is for certain, when you think about after that purchase has happened, you really do need that relationship and those relationships of how do you start to think about bringing those solutions together? And so I agree with you 100%. And or Asher, as we're quoting him, it's all about trusted relationships. And so how do you scale that capability and that expertise? But you're not going to scale it through simply technology.
No, totally agree. All right, Rebecca, thank you for spending some time with us. Really
Absolutely.
It was. So, go ahead.
I was going to say it was such a pleasure to have this conversation and looking forward to a few more.
Me too. So what's the best, most people know you, but what's the best way to reach you?
I would say the best way to reach me, simply put, is LinkedIn. And then I will be at a number of customer and industry conferences this fall. And I hope to see a lot of folks at those events as well, in person, in real life.
Okay. With all the AIs going, we're still all getting out there to build relationships, aren't we? I think that's the coolest thing. I think my schedule's busier than ever. Lots of AI. Well, that's a cool thing. The AI is allowing us to get out there and do these things.
It is. It is to do the important work of seeing people in person.
Totally good. All about relationships. All right, Rebecca. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks, listeners, viewers. Have a great day.